What is good? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Pick Six channel. Let's talk about it, man. The Pittsburgh Steelers defeat the Detroit. What was a five-star matchup between the two, and it's probably not even the best game of the week, unfortunately, because, or maybe not unfortunately, but we just had so many good games this week. The Thursday night game with the Rams and the Seahawks, the Saturday night game between the Bears and the Packers. So it might not even be game of the week, but it was still a great game. All right. And I'll give a shout out to the Detroit Lions. They showed some heart, they showed some fight. It definitely wasn't their cleanest game. They were looking a little bit sloppy in the first half, but they were able to come back from that and get themselves back into the game and just fell short. Okay. Obviously, we'll talk about the very last play at some point. Okay. As for the Steelers, Aaron doing his thing once again. He wasn't as getting as many completed passes. I'm sorry, his complete percentage wasn't as good as it was the past couple of weeks, but still played a solid game at that. Getting 266 total yards and one touchdown, no interceptions. And that is what you want to see. No interceptions from the Steelers. They did have a turnover offensively with the Darnell Washington fumble in the red zone. Okay. However, the defense was able to get a safety out of that. So that's the silver lining, right? And at points in this game, the Steelers' offense was struggling while the Steelers' defense was playing good. And then you had the Steelers' defense starting to struggle at the end of the game while the Steelers' offense was starting to put up points. Okay, so they're looking like a balanced team right now. Okay, sure, they're not playing perfect football. They haven't been playing perfect football the past 3 weeks, but they're looking like a better team the past 3 weeks. Okay, because at first we're talking about full-on games where the Steelers offense couldn't really move the football and the Steelers defense was playing really good. And then the Steelers offense would be playing really, really good while the Steelers defense was struggling. Now it seems like we're getting a mixture of both, if that makes sense. Okay? That's what you want to see. So Steelers defense was making plays. Steelers offense was definitely making plays. Okay? You got to bring up Jaylen Warren and Kenny G. They were going up against arguably the best running back duo on the opposing side. Okay. And they said, not so fast. Not so fast. We got Jaylen Warren and Kenny G. Jaylen Warren had 14 carries, 143 yards, averaging 10 yards a carry for 2 touchdowns. His longest was from 45, breaking off 2 big touchdown runs. And it was just a matter of time before something like that would happen because Jaylen Warren is just a playmaker, man. That's just what it is. Same thing with Kenny G. Had over 100 total yards between receiving and rushing. He had 9 carries for 50 yards, and he had 5 receptions for 78 yards and that insane touchdown grab. He was actually the leading receiver in yesterday's game, which is kind of crazy. But he had that one crazy touchdown grab right before the half ended. There was only a few seconds of the half after that touchdown. It was an insane catch. This has got to be one of the craziest catches I've seen from a Steeler just as a fan. Okay, there's only 2 that I could think of. One was Antonio Brown against the Chiefs in 2017. Okay, I think it deflected off a defender, and then he kind of grabs it with one hand and runs it in for a touchdown. That was a crazy catch. And then obviously the George Pickens one against the Browns, what was it, 3 years ago? Those are the only 2 that compete with the catch that Gainwell got, which honestly I think the Gainwell catch might have been the best out of those 3. Okay, so shout out to the running backs. they're the offense, man. Those are the playmakers offensively. Those are the guys that have been consistent with it. Because the receiving core hasn't been consistent. Even DK Metcalf hasn't been all that consistent. And as far as the suspension with DK Metcalf, after what happened with the fan, I'm not sure if he made contact with the fan. He threw a punch at a fan. I don't really know what to say about it other than I was expecting it to end in at least a game suspension. They decided on 2. Hopefully that doesn't hurt the Steelers too much. Okay. That's all I got to say with the DK Metcalf situation because I don't really know what else to say. So outside of Kenny G, it was actually Adam Thielen that was second in receiving yards. 4 receptions for 49 yards. Adam Thielen did step up. Scotty Miller stepped up a little bit too. DK, he's been having an up and down season, man. I don't really know. I mean, you could say that the receiving core wasn't that good, and that's part of the reason why it's been an up and down season for DK. I don't know what's going on. Okay, it seems like something's going on there. I'm not too sure, though. All right. But for the defensive side, they had a goal line stand because Dan Gamble decided to go for it on 4th and goal at the 4 or 5 yard line. And Joey Porter Jr., great coverage throughout the entire day. He was making plays, didn't get an interception or anything crazy, but he was getting a lot of broken up passes, and that's what you got to do as a cornerback. And he's doing a good job. I don't even think he had a penalty on him in the game. If I remember correctly, I don't think he had a penalty on him, which is rare for Joey Porter Jr., by the way. But he's actually having himself a pretty nice season for this team, man. So all in all, it was a good game. It was a really good 5-star game. And some will say that the Steelers might have let their foot off the gas pedal in the 4th quarter. I don't think that's the case against this Lion team. I think, if you beat the Lions, they're going to go out swinging. And that's what we saw in this game. They went out swinging. And they almost won this game. And some will say that they should have. I'm not one of those people. Okay? You had the 2 penalties towards the end of the game. The first one, yes, that was offensive pass interference for sure. Then the last play of the game. St. Brown does kind of push off on, I forgot who the corner was, but he does kind of get a little bit of a push off, then makes the grab, is short of the end zone, short of the marker to gain. Honestly, at that point, I thought it should have been forward progress. I thought that they should have blown the whistles at that point. But then he tosses it back to Jared Goff. He runs into the end zone. They called it a touchdown, but they also called offensive pass interference, which that was the game. And the touchdown didn't count. So I understand the frustration if you're a Lions fan, but I think it was the right call for the most part. The only thing I would say wasn't the right call is calling it a touchdown, because I thought it should have been forward progress anyways, and the play should have been blown dead. That's me personally, though, man. So that's all I really got to say as far as the game. It was a good one. As for the upcoming 2 weeks, with the Ravens losing to the Patriots on Sunday Night Football, all the Steelers need to win this division is, for one, either the Ravens to lose to Green Bay on Saturday night, or for the Steelers to beat the Browns this week on Sunday morning. If the Steelers fumble this division, it is going to be the worst fumble. I'm talking even worse than last season. Under the circumstances that were faced the entire season, Lamar Jackson was injured a few games. Joe Burrow was injured a few games. You take all the circumstances into play. If the Steelers somehow fumble this division, it is going to be probably worse than last season's fumble. That's all I got to say about that, because they should beat the Browns. Okay, and a lot will favor the Packers over the Ravens. But honestly, I'm not really focused on that game too much, because I think it's more important that the Steelers take care of the Browns no matter what, even if the Ravens do lose on Saturday night. I think the Steelers should take care of the Browns. In the perfect situation, even if the Ravens do win this week, Steelers beat the Browns. Week 18, you get the starters to rest because they had a very early bye week in week 5, and some of these players are banged up. Aaron Rodgers is still injured. Even though he's been playing, he's still injured. So a lot of these starters could use a rest. And maybe get Will Howard to start in week 18 just to kind of see what you may have there. That's the perfect scenario going into week 18, but week 17 has to unfold first. And the Steelers haven't won a game in Cleveland in a few years. Even though we want to say the history between the Steelers and the Browns, the Steelers typically beat the Browns. They haven't beaten the Browns in Cleveland in some years. And I understand they're favored in this game, but it's a divisional matchup. It's not going to be easy. The Browns are not going to make the game easy. I'm not expecting a complete blowout against the Browns. Maybe they should blow them out, but again. So, what do you guys think, man? Are the Steelers going to win this division? I'm hoping that it's this week. Because, again, then you get to rest your starters. You get that luxury to rest your starters in week 18. So let's hope for that, and it probably should happen this week. All right? This team is looking good. This team is actually starting to play like a playoff team. They're starting to gel well together. I'm assuming it was that loss against Buffalo, and because this team has looked different since then. So you guys can let me know how you guys feel in the comment section. Can this team get past the first round? Let me know. Other than that, guys, that's all I got for you. And as always, go Steelers.